But other than that, man, it's really fun. Get to play StarCraft 2, which is going to be an amazing game. I've already mentioned on a couple of different websites my few concerns about StarCraft 2, mostly having to do with the spectator side, because I'm a commentator and I like being able to see what's going on screen. But other than that, it is a really fun game. And I get people asking me all the time specifics about StarCraft, and I really didn't pay that much attention, like, oh, what are the build time order, like, timings on this attack, and what does this exact ability do and cost, and how much HP does this unit have? I really wasn't paying attention to that. I was just going through, reading all the tooltips. I think overall I played about 10 or 12 games, and I pretty much maxed them out in time just by, like, just testing everything out, testing all the spells, getting all the upgrades and all that good stuff. But from what I experienced, it's really, really fun, and any bugs or balance issues, of course, are going to be fixed in the beta. So I don't really talk too much about balance either, because, I mean, it's beta. They're going to change it so much. I mean, how much has the original StarCraft changed over the last 10 years? It's actually changed a lot, and they still patched it sometimes. So really, I don't know. I'm just really looking forward to it coming out, and BlizzCon was a blast. If you're thinking of going, it's definitely worth it. Just know that you're going to be around a bunch of WoW people, and their main focus is WoW, because that's what just made Blizzard the huge conglomerate that it is. But either way, it's fun. It was worth it. The goodie bag kind of sucked. There's no beta key, but what can you do? I didn't go for the goodie bag. I went for the fun. But yeah, I do plan the HD camcorder that I got through my fans, which was 100% paid for through donations. It is going to be used for Esports Report. Every episode of Esports Report is going to be paid, or is going to be used through the HD camcorder, so it was paid for by you guys. So yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say about BlizzCon.
Well, it sounds like an awesome time indeed. But if I can stay on that topic of StarCraft 2 a while longer, do you feel that the beautiful, crisp graphics of StarCraft 2 makes it less visually clear than StarCraft 1? Because that's, of course, is one of the main reasons why it's such a good spectator sport. You can see what's going on all the time. Do you feel that's more difficult with StarCraft 2?
There is a huge thread on Team Liquid. Team Liquid's the forums that I follow the closest, because that's where, like, the hardcore, quote-unquote, StarCraft players are, who really analyze pretty much everything about the game. And there's, I don't know how many pages of replies it has, but there are a lot of arguments going back either way. And so, not to say that my opinion's right, but my personal opinion is that when I was at BlizzCon, I watched there was 2v2s, and I can't remember exactly how many games there was. I think there was a total of 3 games. I may be mistaken. But watching those games, they're really fun to watch. It is, though, to be completely honest, it is pretty difficult to tell what's going on. Part of that is because, I mean, we're not used to watching StarCraft 2 quite yet. But a lot of it is like, I mean, I know what a bunch of Zerglings running into drones and killing drones looks like. That's something we've all seen many times. And when we saw that happening in, I forget what game it is. I think it's I want to say the second 2v2. It might be the first one, though, where a bunch of Zerglings just sprint past all of the enemy's units and they run into the main. And then as soon as they ran into the mineral line, you can't tell what's going on, because the death animations are they're more artistic instead of more kind of easy to see. And so when the drones die, they like explode in a little poof of red blood, and it's so hard to tell, depending on the tile set especially, because they have put so much detail into the tile set of the maps that, like a ground temple kind of tile set, there's so much detail in the cracks and the shadows and all that. It's really hard to actually see the Zerglings, and it's hard to tell exactly how many there are. But on the flip side, for the observer tools, there is going to be like multiple unit selection, which you can't do when you're spectating StarCraft 1. You can only select one unit at a time. And there's also unit counting stations, so you can kind of tell that way what's going on, because I'm sure they can just control-click the Zerglings on the screen. It'll show you exactly how many are right there. And probably the same for the drones. But as far as just looking at it, and if you don't really want to pay attention to all the fancy unit counting and stuff, it's kind of hard to tell what's going on. But other than that, I think a lot of it is the tile set. So I think the Korean map makers will just use the tile sets that's easiest on the eyes, because they really don't use like the snow tile set at all in Korean maps, because it hurts the eyes if you watch it and if you play it a lot. So I think that the Koreans will figure it out to make it help it a little bit. And then the only other thing as far as spectating goes, the units and buildings are 3D. So like the Colossus is a really tall 3D unit, and you can actually hide like if you're just staring at a Colossus, there's a little couple of blind spots that you can put units where you can't technically see them on the screen. I don't know if that's going to be a huge deal, but we'll have to see because units can sometimes be behind buildings and you don't know they're there. So that's kind of frustrating for the spectator. What I think they'll do is what a lot of games are doing now, which I think Left 4 Dead kind of does this, where they give a really small outline of something if it's kind of, or maybe I can't remember what games do this, but they'll probably do this where if a unit's behind a building, there'll be like a green outline around it so you can tell that there's something behind it. But other than that, actually playing the game is amazing. Anyone who bashes StarCraft has obviously not played it, or StarCraft 2 rather, has obviously not played it, because it is going to be really fun. It is going to be the best RTS, aside from StarCraft 1, ever made.
Of course.
And I'm really looking forward to it. Like they had to drag me out of there. I was playing the game until the very last, until they closed it down and they were throwing people out. So it is definitely worth it. Cannot wait. It's definitely worth the wait. So as far as spectator sport, I think it'll be fun. They just have to work out one or two kinks. But other than that, man, it's Blizzard. They know what they're doing.
Yes, the problem is in good hands indeed. However, moving on to the existing StarCraft, there is this issue in the community, this uncertainty involving GOM TV and what's happening. We don't know very much, but what do you think is going on?
Yeah, like you said, we don't know too much. The only info we've heard is from Super Daniel Man, which I made a thread on it in Team Liquid. It's under GOM TV, I think, on the main page. So there's at least 20 pages of replies about it. I don't know. I actually haven't read that entire thread because there's like hundreds and hundreds of replies. So I don't know if there's any more kind of hidden information in there. But from what I've heard so far, it's just the Twitters that Super Dano Man has been leaving on Twitter. Yeah. He pretty much says that there's a lot of KESPA drama, and KESPA is the Korean Esports Association or something like that. I don't know exactly what it stands for, but they're pretty much just like the governing body of esports in Korea. And so they have a lot of influence over what the teams do. And like if a tournament isn't sponsored by KESPA, it's seen as kind of a waste of time. From what I know in Korea, I don't live in Korea, but it's seen as kind of not as important, or not. It's kind of a waste of time to be practicing for something that's not sponsored by KESPA, because KESPA is pretty much like the ranking system, and so you want a higher rank so that you get paid more money, essentially. And so a lot of players, like last season, I think SKT wasn't in it, and I think one or two more teams wasn't in the GOM season, and I think it's just more teams are pulling out now. Is it influence from KESPA? Is it something that GOM TV is doing? There's really no way to know both sides of it. But right now, as far as it stands, there is no GOM Season 4, as far as I know, so sorry if that's wrong, but they're trying to work it out to either have an all foreigner league, which foreigners in this case is anyone outside Korea. That's one thing that Super Dan Man said was on the table. Or just having a GOM TV season with anyone who will join, which I think that's what they should do. I think they should still try and have a GOM Season 4. If they can get even one team to do it, at least have something and reward those players for just looking past the drama and being able just to play the game. I mean, I don't know, because personally, my favorite league is the GOM League, and it doesn't actually have anything to do with Tasteless. Of course, I love Tasteless, and he's like awesome, but the reason I like the GOM League is just because it's like a normal tournament. It's just you start out with 28 people or 160, whatever they had. And I mean, if you lose, you're out, man. You're gone. You're better luck next year. Unlike the individual leagues where there's qualifying rounds for months and months, and then they play like hundreds of games. And I mean, I like watching those too, but it's just the reason that I like the GOM season is because it's just a straight up brutal hack and slash fest. Whoever manages to not lose a single best of 3 ending up in the finals. So we'll have to wait and see. I really hope they do come up with something, because I know for a fact that GOM TV has made StarCraft exponentially more popular. I've always played StarCraft. Most people know that, but I really got into esports around halfway through the first season of the GOM Classic, and ever since then, I mean, that's not even that long, that's like a year or two, but ever since then, I can definitely see StarCraft growing a lot.